chatbots have evolved a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. It started with, for example, rule-based engines. Then it became supervised. It became guided flows. Now they're getting very good in the natural language processing and NLP and NLU. So what? So why chatbots and what's going on? I think the key is there are a lot of challenges right now. We are living with COVID, right? The main challenge is the problem here is how do you people want to get work done without talking to humans involved? How can I do it 24/7? It's all about using chatbots to improve the productivity, improve the experience, and users and consumers want self-service. We want self-service like how Uber has given to us, whether Uber Eats, Grubhub. We sit on a phone and an app using the collaboration applications. The same experience people are looking for with these type of solutions, right? So with this, what are the user expectations are, right? Expectations are actually, if you look at it, everybody want all services to be delivered at a push of a button, right? That's where we saw all the social media apps evolve, how things have evolved in the consumer industry. And they want this to be on any device, right? You may be on a cell phone, iPad, your laptop, your desktop, right? And they also want this to be highly personalized. So if you have already expressed certain user preferences, and it should be, it also has a user engagement involved. The most of this AI chatbot needs to become like Facebook, like Amazon, etc. And that's what most people are looking for from an expectation perspective. And the reason for chatbot is people really don't want to talk to other people to get their job done, right? It could be not convenient for you. You're maybe with your family. You want to do this thing on the side while you're teaching your kids, right? So it could be middle of the day, middle of the night. So the whole idea of chatbot is to provide a new mechanism, new channel for people to communicate. There's some good news here. If you look at it, AI chatbots will be mainstream. This is according to Gartner. By in the next 3 years, they're saying 50% of enterprise consumer companies will be adopting, right? The users inside these companies will be using chatbot. That's pretty high. I mean, today it's probably 10, 15% in the enterprise, and you'll see a tremendous growth in the next 3 years, according to Gartner. And here is the growth that I was talking about, the evolution, right? The rise of AI chatbots, I call it, right? It started as a rule-based system back in 5 years back, 2015. They became guided flows, right? And I call this guided flows to be supervised chatbots, where people write down exactly what you want. Like if you know what your user wants and you have a response, you should implement those. But then you're playing God, like you really acting like a God, saying, look, this is what my users will ask, I'm going to do it. That's why the supervised chatbots never did well so far, because it has very restrictive solution it can offer. The next thing is the AI charts are becoming unsupervised. I call them. Some people call them unsupervised AI or unsupervised NLP, where system will learn in a continuous manner. It learns from your existing data. It learns from existing conversations. So think of like a Google search engine is learning from the habits and the behavior. This is where the behavioral search engine comes in, right? And so this is the current evolution. We are in 2020, and this will continue. So you'll see in the next few years a lot of unsupervised, context-aware behavioral search engines that will evolve to do complex tasks also, right? Now, if you look at what are the common use cases, where are we seeing this, right? I see mainly in multiple areas. One area I see chatbots a lot is in the area of IT services, right? When I say IT services, I'm really talking about automating every administrative task, right? Most common repetitive tasks that you see IT departments do, um, those will be automated, are being automated. That's a great area for AI chatbots, right? HR is another area, highly repetitive questions, could be confidential, it could be privacy questions. You don't want to talk to somebody about your HR requirements and your needs. And this will be a great example of why people actually prefer AI chatbots over talking to a HR human being for some questions, right? Not all, for some. Same thing, customer service and support, right? Whether you are using it for your internal Comcast, to your Netflix services, to your Amazon services, to your other things, right? People want customer service support to be also fully automated. So you'll see these three areas AI chatbots are taking tremendously. Other area is sales and marketing. You'll see a lot happening in sales and marketing, renewals, upsell, resell, all the areas where there's a lot of human touch involved. You'll see the rise of AI chatbot will make a dent in those use cases. So what are these type of chatbots that we talk about, right? Earlier I kind of described, and I kind of mentioned this unsupervised. So if you break it down, so chatbots can be broken further into unsupervised to supervised to, like some people call it cognitive AI. It's old search engines, what search technology becoming as a cognitive AI, right? You can still apply search as a way to solve the chat solution, right? A user asking a question to responding to an answer is what at the end of the day the search engines do. So you can, question is, do you want to make this a dialogue? Is it a one-time Q&A? Is it an FAQ like a system? Or is it actually dialoguing with you, right? Like a conversational system. And it depends on the sophistication and your users want. You could go all the way down. And the bottom, I'm showing an example of where it can be handed off to a live human being too. So most good AI chatbots today have an ability to do that. It's a mandatory, right? So kind of saying you should start with unsupervised on the top because that gives you long exponential tail, and then you go down to supervised and all the way to escalation path. And that's what I'm kind of showing you in this chart is if you only focus on certain areas, you only get 5-10% of the requests that chats can handle it. But if you were to handle all your 100% of your requests for your users, it's important that you have a solution which can do both unsupervised, guided flows, cognitive search, and able to talk to live agent. That's why I see the world of 100% of user requests. But only if you do one thing, you only get 10%. Other thing that's important is a lot of people ask me, why is the traditional chatbots have failed in the past? What went wrong, right? Yes, many chatbots have failed for many reasons, right? The traditional reasons that people have failed is first is people try to build it yourself. It's like building a car, electric car. You don't wake up and say, I want to build a Tesla. These things sound easy, but it's very complex if you want to handle really good complex use cases. So do it yourself. Applying bad AI is the reasons of failures, right? Second thing I talked about robotic experience. If you make it a very robotic, users won't like it. Similarly, if you make it highly scripted, it becomes robotic, right? And it becomes extremely expensive to deploy and maintain if you were to do those guided flows, right? And there's no automation in learning. The whole idea of AI is, will it learn continuously? Is it learning daily, hourly, weekly? Can it learn from the solution? And that's where all this comes in. What is the impact of these failures if you implement a bad solution, right? Quite a lot. The impact could be it's expensive to build, right? It's very expensive to build these projects if you have to do it. It's a long time to value, right? And then finally, the skill set required. You need to start hiring data scientists, machine learning people, NLP people, ML engineering people, and data engineering. By the time you are done, you'll have a team of like 50 to 100 people to get a project done. That's not what it's designed for. Like I've seen people who are as small as even like 10 people struggle to do this thing, and eventually the teams will become 50 to 100 people to maintain a solution minimum to start with. So what's the message I would like to convey? Don't build a chatbot. Try to acquire a pro solution, work with vendors who have already have it, and have them customize it to you. So going with an existing vendor solution for AI chatbot is better than building yourself. Now, if you look at our customers still continue to invest in this area, absolutely, right? This is something again, a Gartner survey said, look, even people who failed in their project, they still have the commitment. The reason is they see the potential benefit and the value that the other people are seeing it, and their CIOs and CEOs are they're telling them that it's very important to maintain this differentiation in the digital transformation. So not having AI chatbot is not an option. So that's why you see that according to Gartner, every failed project is still continue to invest to find the right solution. So if you look at other way to look at is how many of these chatbots when people try to build versus before versus now. In 19, actually the 40% of the people try to build them. Right? Today people want to buy these things out of the box. So only 10% are trying to build. So now you can see the trend lines are already shifted that this is a point so sophisticated game. People are not trying to build this. Other thing I thought I wanted to show you is the examples of these solutions can solve, right? So this is like a word cloud. I'm giving an example of what those solutions will be. People in request, like we are on a Zoom request, right? It could be Zoom request, it could be for Google Drive, it could be Microsoft Office, it could be employee onboarding, right? It could be as simple as resetting my passwords. I logged out of an account. I want to subscribe certain things. So all these requests, I've seen people requesting through AI chatbots. The key capabilities though is one is natural language we talked about. Second is the context switching. The system should be smart enough to understand the context and change the context, right? It should understand the meaning and intent, and it should be disambiguity. It should also be able to take the user feedback and learn. right? It should also be able to do exception handling. It should have the taxonomy and ontology, right? It should understand the verbiage and vocabulary. In natural language, it's called intents and utterances and phrases, right? And finally, it should be able to learn on the knowledge and the information it has in an unsupervised manner, right? Supervised manner is you're training them constantly, sitting and babysitting them. That's an approach doesn't work typically, right? Then if you look at what's the big trends of AI chatbots are going today, I said, look, this whole nation of unsupervised I covered a lot. The second area is user personalization and engagement. You want these AI chatbots to become proactive. Before you ask a question, it should ask you, hey, you have this problem. These problems are not solved for you. Can we engage you? Can we solve for you? Right? Then taking the learnings. This is what is called transfer learning. Learning in one area of the product or one domain and applying to other, right? It may not be exactly applicable. That's why it's called collective transfer learning, right? So try to apply these concepts of machine learning and reinforcement learning across domains, across companies, and learning from each other will be next two areas that you'll see a big trend on the AI chatbots. So what is a stack typically one should look for, right? So this is kind of the stack that I usually tell people to look for. Look, at the end of the day, the AI chatbots front end any systems. It could be your Salesforce, it could be ServiceNow, Zendesk, it could be SAP, Oracle, it could front end any knowledge base, like starting from Confluence all the way to Google Suite, OneDrive, Box, etc. Right? And you could use any channel. Right now, the channels are like Slack, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, are most predominant channel that we see out there. Right? Obviously, I'm the co-founder of Isra, and we push AI chatbot solutions. We live in this stack. So our solution sits on top of Slack, on top of Teams and Zoom. So we offer AI chatbot solution as a stack like this. So what is the benefits you get out of this, right? So the key benefit at the end of the day is turnkey deployment and low maintenance. You want to make sure there's no code written, it's easy to deploy. It should be like a service. It should be available within the same day, same few days for it to come up with. I call it like day zero, 0 day solution. That's the best you can ask for if you're looking for this. Make sure your experience is good with these things. So bet on experience, do user testings, uh, make sure there's a natural progression if the user question is not asked. Make sure it's also not robotic, and make sure it's also omni-channel. Finally, at the end of this, there has to be not only this benefits of, there has to be hard ROI. If you don't save costs in terms of license costs, saving of these SaaS tools out there, or if you don't reduce your resources, capex, operational cost, there's no point doing a chatbot. I fundamentally believe that you have to have cost reduction and cost savings along with experience, along with productivity improvement. All needs to happen, right? So if you do it correctly, a good project see benefits in all three areas. So why invest? So a Uber question that I always ask is that, look, why do you want to start on these projects, right? You don't wake up one day and say, I want to do it. There has to be a business reason. This is where you have to align with your business. It could be your CEO, your general manager, your CFO, your CIO. Somebody has to have a reason why you want to do this. Either it could be as simple as I want to grow my users. I want to improve the experience for my consumers and users. Or I want to improve their retention rate. Or I want to improve the renewal rate, or it could be a new business model you want to offer. You may want to disrupt a new business model with new pricing, with no phone support or no human support. That may be your business model, right? So there has to be something powerful like that as to why you want to. Finally, is how important is to drive revenue and growth, right? Drive revenue and drive growth important. Sometimes some of these things will give you a lot of scale and growth that may not want it at this point in time for you. So again, think through the real reasons why you want as a business reason before you embark on these projects. That's it, folks.